So when you talk about what it costs to do solar, one of the really important questions I think that needs to be asked is, what is the cost if we don't do anything? There are environmental costs for burning fossil fuels, and we can't just continue to do that and expect things to be okay for the future. So that's a really important question. People always want to know about the cost, the expense of doing solar. And what we're doing is building a power plant on your home or a business that's going to produce clean power for 40 years. So we're paying for it up front, and it does have an expense. How long it takes to pay for itself in clean energy depends on what you're paying for that energy. So in Minnesota, when we use 1 kilowatt hour of electricity, it costs about 10 cents. So when I make 1 kilowatt hour of solar energy, that's sort of what I'm getting paid for it. In California, we might pay 35 cents or even more for that same kilowatt hour. So how long that energy will take to pay for itself depends on the cost for energy. At the same time, if we can reduce our need for energy, then we reduce our need for installing solar to offset that energy. So the more you can reduce your bill, the less solar it will take to offset your bill, because your bill is now smaller. Many solar energy systems that we're installing here in Minnesota are connected to the utility grid. So during the daytime, we're making solar power and spinning the meter backwards and providing power to other people in the neighborhood or other offices in the area. And then at nighttime, we use that utility power when it's less expensive or off-peak times, and so it's a really good distributed energy resource. Because we're not trying to store all of our energy in batteries, we're connected to the grid like that, a person can install a solar energy system that might make 25% of their electricity or 50% or even 10%. It doesn't really make any difference because they still are connected to the utility grid, so they're not limited to how much power they have from their solar energy system. So I would encourage people to take a look at what they can fit on their home in a sunny space or on their office, what they can afford to invest in, and do what they can to get started down that road towards a clean energy future. The Minnesota Renewable Energy Society has a monthly meeting with a free speaker, and it's an opportunity to go and meet people who maybe have solar on their homes, or solar installers or other solar businesses participate in that meeting. Well, I think choosing a solar installer is just like choosing any contractor. First of all, you have to feel comfortable with the installer, and you can expect that person to give you references that you can call up and talk to. Another thing that you're going to need to look for is a licensed contractor. In Minnesota, a solar installation requires an electrical permit and a building permit, and so you need to expect the installer to be licensed or work with licensed people in those trades so that they can do a quality installation. I think living with solar is a really important part of being a solar business. But what we did initially in getting started, my first systems were my installations on the places where I lived, because that's a great place to practice, if you will, do your first ones. But initially, we looked at our home and said, this is the south-facing roof, and solar needs to face south in Minnesota, in the northern hemisphere. We started paying a lot more attention to our electricity consumption at the same time, because when you're making solar power, now you want it to go as far as you can make it go. As we got more experienced in the solar industry, we recognized that there's lots more opportunity for solar here at our home. And so one thing we did was mount solar on the west-facing roof, which is the back of the house, and we tipped the modules up to face them south. There are some trees in the neighbor's yard that shade that portion of the roof at certain times of the year, and so we used a technology called microinverters to help mitigate that shading. And at the same time, we were able to test the technology, prove that it works well, and really see the benefits of using a microinverter in some situations. So we're happy about that. Additionally, we have the south-facing area of our home is a patio space. There's no roof out there that faces south, but we were able to build a cedar structure to hold some beautiful double glass modules that additionally make another 2 kilowatts of solar power. So we've expanded what we have on the home. We also installed a solar hot water system for some domestic water. A lot of what we're doing as solar installers is retrofitting existing homes. You can't make the house have a primary roof face south, so you do what you can and be creative to see what kind of options are available. It's interesting when you get solar installed, you want to see it working, and sometimes people need to be convinced that it does work. So it's really fun for us to be able to see, one, on the inverters, we can see exactly how much power we're generating at the current time. Many people choose to have their solar system connected up to a computer so that they can check their inverters without going down to the basement or something. And in our case, we've added a whole house energy monitoring system, which allows us to track not just our solar production, but our whole house consumption. So it's a fairly simple thing. The homeowner or an electrician would be the one to install it. One thing, when I first got started doing solar, I was very concerned about finding the best solar panel to install. And what I learned was there really isn't a best panel that's the right choice. There are lots of different manufacturers that make modules similar to what's behind me, and they basically have silicon cells underneath a layer of glass, and most typically there's a backing to help keep the moisture out and an aluminum frame going around those modules. So we want to choose a company that's bankable, that's been around a long time, or that will be around a long time, because a warranty on a product is only as good as the company that's going to still be in existence. So in that sense, we're investing in basically a power production plant. But at the same time, locally made is often a really good thing to support if you can. And so Minnesota has a couple of solar manufacturers. We have a manufacturer of solar water collectors, a manufacturer of solar air collectors, and currently 2 manufacturers of solar electric modules. And we're really proud to be able to support them. Both of the manufacturers of solar electric modules are very, very innovative and doing something that nobody else is doing. One of them makes really innovative racking to maximize what you can get for kilowatt hours on a flat roof, and the other one is making a double glass module so that, one, when you mount them like we have on a cedar structure, from underneath the light can come through and it's really beautiful, and the junction box and wiring is all encompassed in the rail, so it's a really nice looking installation. But secondly, that 2 layers of glass fused together prevents any moisture and oxygen from getting in over time. So they're proving and testing to be really long lasting and very durable. So we're proud to have local manufacturers that are really quality and hopefully help put Minnesota on the solar map.